Hi everyone, my name is Maha Saade. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm a certified diabetes educator. I've been working in the diabetes field for more than 15 years in Quebec and in Ontario. And I've been helping patients living with type 1 and type 2 diabetes manage and juggle the diabetes. So today I'm very happy to welcome you to the Q&A live session about diabetes and nutrition. So I'll be answering questions related to that topic. And I'm going to invite you to put all your questions through the chat. And I'm going to try as much as possible to answer as many questions as I can with the time that I have with you. Before I start, it's very important for me to precise that I'm going to be answering general information about diabetes and nutrition because I don't know which medication you are on, I don't know your lifestyle, I don't know details about your diabetes control, so I can't be very specific. So I'll invite you to go back to your diabetes professionals and they'll be answering more specifically for your needs. So I'm gonna start, I'm seeing questions coming in, so I'm gonna start with the first questions. What are some simple substitutions I can make in my day-to-day cooking to improve my glucose control? So this is a very wide question and usually it goes, I have to personalize it to each one of you depending on the medication you are on, depending on how your blood sugar reacts. But in general, what we try to do is to find good quality carbohydrates and cook with those carbohydrates. So I'm going to give examples. And those examples are what we call low glycemic index that have less impact on the blood sugar in general, but we have to go case by case. So example, we can replace white rice with converted or parboiled rice. Potatoes, instead of getting white potatoes, we can go towards sweet potatoes. When we're cooking pasta, let's go cook the pasta al dente instead of cooking it's very well cooked. So those are small things that you can substitute on in your daily cooking and that could make a difference. So I'm gonna see if we have other questions. A lot of things going in. Here we go. So to complete my other question, my other answer, some people are asking bread or rice. I'm gonna answer you, it depends how your body reacts. Remember, I talked about quality, I didn't talk about quantity. So if you're able to limit, let's say when you take 2 slices of bread and the bread, we go towards the bread that is made by non-transformed flour. So multigrain, not brown bread, not brown flour, it has to be multigrain and less transformed in a way, less processed. Bread or rice, so I want you to picture in your head 2 slices of bread, the amount of carbohydrates in 2 slices of bread equal 2/3 of cooked rice. So ask yourself which food is gonna fill me up more. 2 slices of bread making a sandwich, egg sandwich with lettuce, tomatoes, and a salad on the side, or 2/3 of a cup of cooked rice, not uncooked, cooked rice with vegetables and meat, chicken, fish. So those are both equal in amount of carbohydrates and in quality. Now, how your blood sugar or your glucose reacts to that, you have to do tests to see which one is better for you. So, the next question, what is the easiest way to lower your glucose levels after eating? So if your glucose levels are higher after meals, the best way is to go walk. It's exercise. And I'm answering this for type 2 diabetes. So specifically for type 1s, we have other possibilities. But for type 2s, it's going to be exercising, walking, not muscle training. It's going to be walking or jogging, so cardio exercise. Okay, so I'm looking at other questions coming in. So I have another one about treating hypoglycemia with juice. So when we're treating hypoglycemia, so sugar levels under 4, those are, we need rapid carbohydrates, and juice is the fastest one. That's why we usually tell you, try to avoid juice because it spikes your blood sugar really high. So in that case, this is the treatment. It's not chocolate, it's not peanut butter, it's not fruit, it's really juice or sugar, maple syrup, or white sugar. So those are the best treatment because they go fast in your bloodstreams. Now the amount is going to be based on how much insulin you took, what's the medication you are on, did you do exercise, was it alcohol that brought you to the hypoglycemia? So there is a different situation, but in general, we're going to go with 15 grams. 15 grams, it's half a cup of juice. So half a cup of juice is not the box of juice. It's 3/4 of it. And usually people, they'll drink it all. And that's why we tend to have spikes after. So I know when we're in hypoglycemia, we have symptoms and we just want the symptoms to stop. But remember that if your blood sugar spikes after that treatment, it's because you over-treated with the box of juice. So I tend to recommend sugar because 1 tablespoon is easy to measure, or the Dex4 caps because it's easy to count for and then take it and limit the treatment to that amount. Okay. How come fruit spikes my sugar? It depends on the fruit. Okay, so like the starches that I talked about, rice and pasta and potatoes, we have good quality, and we have rapid digested ones and one that we digest slower. So in fruits we have the same thing. So you can pay attention and see when you're having a banana that is not ripe, is your sugars react the same way as if you're eating a ripe banana. So the sugar in the banana will change depending on how ripe it is. We also have, let's say, apples, pears, peaches, and berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. Those, they have less impact on our sugar than if we're having pineapples or we're having watermelon, especially now that it's summer. So this is refreshing to have watermelon, but it's not water. People think it's water, but it's not, it's sugar. And this is a fruit that spikes the sugar the most. So keep that in mind, that there is quality also of fruit that our body is able to manage in different ways. And we have tools for that now to know how you react specifically to certain fruits or other carbohydrates. Okay, so the other question, okay, so I think I answered that question, so that was it. Why do fruits spike glucose levels? What types of fruit are best for someone living with type 2 diabetes? I just answered it. For those living with type 1, as long as the fruit is matched with insulin, we should be able to manage. We should be, but I need to look at how you react and when to put the insulin dose depending on the fruit you're having. Okay, so the next one. I'm on a roll. Okay, are plant-based packaged snacks okay for those with type 2 diabetes? So I'm gonna answer for type 2 diabetes. Plant-based packaged snacks. So this, I'm not gonna do a reading label session today, but it doesn't mean that plant-based snack, because it's plant-based, that means that it's healthy. Because we don't know if it's rich in salt or how much fat is in those snacks. And also we need to look at the carbohydrates because it depends on how much carbohydrates we have in there, depending on the plant-based. So I don't have, you didn't specify the food. So I don't know, we can put plant-based on crackers and we can put plant-based on, substitute of cheese. So the answer is gonna be different depending on what food you are asking for. So we need to look at the label, because when it's transformed food, we need to make sure it's not full of salt, it's not full of fat, especially bad fat for our heart, and it's not full of carbohydrates that is so transformed that spikes our sugars. So those we need to keep in mind. I know my answer is wide, but it's because I don't know the type of food you were asking about. Okay, the next one. Why are canned goods bad for someone living with diabetes? Okay, so I'm not gonna put all canned food in the same category, because it depends on who am I speaking with. It depends, especially now with the prices going up of everything. So it depends on the situation. So usually legumes like lentils, chickpeas, red beans, white beans, black beans, I'm okay if they are in cans, because we just have to rinse them to get the extra salt from it, and it would be a wonderful protein and heart healthy and good for overall health. So, and I'll put also tuna, canned salmon, sardines in the same category because it has more benefits than negatives in a way. Now, other canned goods or boxes, any boxes, like it could be crackers, it could be bars, like energy bars, cereal bars, it could be canned meat, canned meals. Those are usually, you have to be comfortable in reading labels to be able to find the right product that is okay to have, because usually they're, as I said, full of salt. So for those living with high blood pressure, it's a problem. They can be higher in fat, and usually it's bad fat in general. And that also, we need to protect your heart. When we live with diabetes, we need to protect your heart. And also transformed carbohydrates. So please refer to your dietitian to help you choose the right canned or boxed food in the grocery store. Okay, so let's go to the next one. What are good suggested snack options to have in the evening to not increase glucose levels in the morning? This is a tricky question. because I need to know which medication you are on. In some situation, the snack becomes a treatment to avoid hypoglycemia during the night, depending again on the medication you are on, and depending if you're type 1 or type 2, living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And if I had exercise during the day or alcohol during the evening, so there's a situation where my answer is going to change. Now, usually I am going to recommend, if you are hungry, if you're not hungry, we need to work on the nibbling part where we're relaxing in front of the TV. This is a part that you work with your dietitian. Let's say you're hungry and you don't want your sugars to be higher in the morning. I'm gonna go towards food that has the least carbohydrates in them. So those are, it goes into the groups of, let's say, cheese with no crackers. It could be vegetable with a dip, and you do the dip with a Greek yogurt and seasoning, homemade seasoning to reduce the salt. So again, I'm answering really general questions. For those who are really, really hungry, it could be an omelet in the evening. It could be leftover from your supper, but without the rice or the potato. So the meat or the chicken or the fish with your vegetables, but avoid the part of the carbohydrates if you don't want to impact your sugars. And the other part is sometimes when we have a snack, our sugars are better in the morning. So that's why you need to work it out with your dietitian to make sure that you have the right plan for you. Previously I really got patients telling me, but when I eat cake in the evening, my sugars are better in the morning, and I can't argue that, it's true. But this is a different phenomena going on in your body, and I don't have the time to explain it, or I don't have my board to write it down for you and make, you know, to draw it for you to understand what goes in and what happens and why you need that. So depends on the situation. Okay, I'm gonna go next. What is the best way to cook vegetables? So this is not related to diabetes, okay? Whatever the way you eat the vegetables, go ahead and eat them. Avoid frying and tempura vegetables. When I say avoid, limit. We can enjoy that because it's good, but not on a regular basis. And you know that we're gonna recommend we're gonna recommend vegetables on a regular basis. So for the vegetables, steaming, microwaving, baking, go ahead and do that. Usually we tend to recommend less boiling in a lot of water. And this is not related to diabetes whatsoever. It's more related to the vitamins that we have in those vegetables that goes in the water, and then we lose them if we throw the water away. That's all. So it's not related to diabetes. For those living with type 1 diabetes, we need to look at, do we need to take insulin for the vegetables or not? So that's depending on the situation. And usually raw vegetables, type 1, I repeat, type 1 diabetes, not type 2s. We don't see that in type 2s. In type 1, we have less impact of raw vegetables on the sugars than if it's cooked. And then this is where we decide if we take insulin for it or not. But this is something to work with your dietitian. So this is not something I can tackle on a group, and I don't know details about your diabetes. Okay, here we go. Are quinoa or Italian farro a good grain option in place of rice? The Italian farro, I don't know but quinoa for sure. Yes, it is better. Quinoa is richer in protein too. That makes it, we digest it slower. So the sugar of the quinoa goes in your bloodstreams in a slower way and doesn't spike up and down. It's really gonna be slowly going up, which is what we want. We don't want your sugar to fluctuate fast. I'm gonna add to that, barley is a good grain, and bulgur is also a very good grain to replace rice. But it depends on your background, your culture, what you're used to eat. So we go with what you like and what you're comfortable with. But yes, quinoa is a very good option. Okay, so I'm looking to see for other questions coming in. I'm seeing a lot. I'm having help, that's why. So I got a question here that, are all carbs bad when you have diabetes? For that, I'm gonna answer, depends on how your body reacts to those carbs. I go back to glycemic index, but glycemic index, so how your body digests that carbohydrate, it's how fast we digest it. It's gonna depend on so many factors, and also the amount. We can't forget the amount. So we can't forget the amount of carbohydrates that we're eating, independent of the quality of the carbohydrates. So we have good ones and we have bad ones. Well, you know them. I don't have to list them for you. You know them. Okay, so the other one. How is the FreeStyle Libre 2 system going to help me adjust my diet? So in that, we're really lucky to live in 2022 and having those tools on hand, because none of my patients early in my career wanted to prick their finger before and 2 hours after eating to see how food affected their sugars. Now with those flash glucose monitoring system, like the FreeStyle Libre and the FreeStyle Libre 2, it's easy, it's not painful, it's fast. So what I'm gonna recommend is you scan your sugar before you eat, then you eat the meal you're eating, and then you scan 2 hours after. And the difference between your sugars before and 2 hours after shouldn't exceed 3 points. And this is how you will know, oh, the amount of rice, or the person who asked me bread or rice, then you'll know, okay, rice is better for me because I didn't exceed 3 points between before and 2 hours after eating the rice or eating the bread. So I'm gonna make it more concrete. So let's say the sugar is 5 before you eat, and 2 hours after is at 7. You're fine. If your sugars are 10 before you eat, and then 12 after, you're fine. Your food is fine because you went up 2 points. It's not the 12 that you're supposed to look at, it's the 10 that is high before. So it's not the food. If the sugars are 6 before you eat, but then 12 2 hours after, this is 6 points difference, then this is where you know that whatever you ate, this is not working out on controlling your sugars. So it helps you make decisions on what to eat, how much to eat, with what, and at what time in the day. Because sometimes you eat something, I'm gonna give an example, a banana in the morning, but the impact on the sugars is not the same as if you eat it in the afternoon, because the body is more insulin resistance in the morning. So it has more trouble starting the day and managing the banana. Other examples, are, let's say you're eating cereal in the morning versus bread. This is a chance to try to see, is cereal good for me or not? Or should I leave the cereal as occasional food because it's spiking my sugars afterwards or not? So do tests. This is what I'm gonna recommend. Do tests. You have the tool for it. Okay. So I'm gonna take the last question. I'm so sorry with the time that we have. I'm gonna take the last question. So I love sweets. I wait until my sugar is a bit low to eat. Should I do this or not? This is a tricky question because it depends on the medication you are on. It depends on what is low for you. Is it 5? Or do you wait for your sugars to be under 4 and then you treat with sweets? So I have this 2 situation. We never treat hypoglycemia with sweets because it's not fast enough to bring your sugars to the normal range and protect you from the impact, the bad impact of hypoglycemia. Now, for my patients that love sweets, and I love sweets too, it's very good. So what I recommend is do tests. So, and I suggest when you feel like eating the sweet, eat it with the meal. Why with the meal? At the end of the meal, because you'll have protein and fibers from your meal that's gonna slow down the absorption of the sweets. So the sugar won't spike as much as if you're eating the sweet alone. So this is my suggestion. And on those meals, when you know that you're gonna have a piece of pie or a cake, no pasta dishes, no rice dishes. Try to go towards a salad with a protein, like a chicken salad, or like a soup with meat in it and a couple of crackers on the side. So a lighter meal with lesser carbohydrates, because you're gonna go get your carbohydrates from the sweet, so you'll get your treat and without having a higher impact on your sugars. So this is a way that I work around sweets with my patients. Okay, so here we go. I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer all the other questions. Thank you so much to spend this time with me. And we're at the end of our session. If there is more questions related to nutrition and diabetes, I'm gonna strongly recommend you ask your doctor to go see a dietitian. We are there to help you manage diabetes. We know now with all this new technology that food and sugar goes together, and you have to find your own food that works for you. It's not a generalized thing for everybody. So, and you can do now tests on your own and find your what works for you. So thank you all for being here. Have a great day. Bye everybody.